Imagine this for a moment: the very exercises you were told would keep you young, strong, and independent after 60 might actually be quietly damaging your heart, your joints, and even shortening your lifespan. Not tomorrow, not years from now, but starting today. And most seniors never realize it until pain, fatigue, or a sudden health scare forces them to stop everything. If you're over 60, this conversation could literally change how long and how well you live. Now let me be very clear from the start. Exercise is one of the most powerful tools we have for healthy aging. It protects the heart, preserves muscle, sharpens the brain, and helps maintain independence. But here's the truth: no one talks about enough. The wrong type of exercise at this stage of life can do more harm than good. After 60, your body is not weaker, but it is different. Your joints have less cartilage, cushioning. Your tendons recover more slowly. Your balance system is more fragile. And your heart responds differently to sudden stress than it did in your 30s or 40s. When exercise ignores these changes, it doesn't build health, it steals it. I've seen it again and again. Active seniors who are doing all the right things suddenly develop knee arthritis that won't go away, shoulder pain that turns into a torn rotator cuff, back pain that leads to surgery, or worse, cardiac events triggered by intense, poorly chosen workouts. And the scariest part? These problems don't start with pain. They start silently. Today we're going to talk about 5 common exercises many people over 60 are still doing, often proudly, that research and clinical experience show can increase injury risk, accelerate joint damage, elevate cardiovascular strain, and ultimately shorten your healthy lifespan. This is not about fear, it's about smarter movement. Because when you remove these exercises and replace them with safer, more effective alternatives, something amazing happens. Pain decreases, energy increases, balance improves. And people often say, I feel younger at 70 than I did at 60. Let's begin with the first one, an exercise almost everyone recognizes, and many seniors still force themselves to do because they believe it's the gold standard of fitness. Long distance running on hard surfaces. For decades, running has been marketed as the ultimate heart-healthy exercise, and for younger bodies, especially on softer terrain, it can be. But after 60, the equation changes dramatically. Every single step while running sends a force equal to 2 to 3 times your body weight through your knees, hips, ankles, and lower spine. When you're younger, thick cartilage, strong connective tissue, and fast recovery protect you. With age, cartilage naturally thins, joint lubrication decreases, and micro damage accumulates faster than it can heal. This is why so many older runners develop chronic knee pain, hip arthritis, stress fractures, or spinal compression issues, even if they've been running their whole life. And here's something most people don't realize: the damage isn't always felt while you're running. It shows up later: stiffness in the morning, swelling after activity, pain when standing up from a chair. These are early warning signs that the joints are being overloaded. From a cardiovascular perspective, long-distance running can also be problematic for older adults who haven't been medically screened. Sustained high heart rates for long periods place extra strain on aging heart tissue, especially if there's underlying high blood pressure, plaque buildup, or rhythm irregularities that haven't been diagnosed yet. Studies have shown that moderate intensity movement provides most of the heart benefits without the excessive stress. More is not always better. This doesn't mean movement is bad, it means impact is the problem. A brisk walk, incline walking, cycling, swimming, or elliptical training can give equal, or even superior cardiovascular benefits with a fraction of the joint damage. Many former runners who switch to low-impact cardio report better endurance, less pain, and improved consistency because they're not constantly recovering from injuries. The goal after 60 isn't to prove toughness, it's to preserve mobility for decades. Now let's move to the second exercise. One that looks harmless, is often encouraged in gyms, and is especially popular in boot camp-style workouts for older adults trying to stay fit: deep squats with heavy weight. Squats themselves are not bad. In fact, the ability to sit and stand is essential for independence. The problem comes when deep squats are loaded with heavy weights, especially when flexibility, balance, or joint alignment isn't perfect. After 60, the knee joint is particularly vulnerable. The meniscus, the cartilage that cushions and stabilizes the knee, becomes more brittle with age. Deep knee bending under heavy load dramatically increases pressure inside the joint, which can accelerate cartilage wear and tear. For people with even mild arthritis, this can speed up joint degeneration. For others, it can trigger meniscus tears that don't heal well and often lead to surgery. But the knees aren't the only concern. Heavy squats also place enormous stress on the lower back. Age-related disc changes make the spine less tolerant of compression. One small form mistake, one moment of fatigue, and suddenly there's a herniated disc, nerve pain, or chronic lower back issues that last for years. What makes this especially dangerous is that many seniors don't feel pain immediately. They feel strong, capable, accomplished. And then weeks or months later, the damage catches up. The safer approach isn't to stop leg training, it's to change how it's done. Chair squats, partial squats, wall-supported squats, or sit to stand movements build strength where it matters without forcing the joints into extreme positions. Resistance bands, light weights, and controlled tempos stimulate muscle growth safely. Strength doesn't require suffering. Remember, muscle responds to tension, not punishment. Now, as we continue, the next exercise might surprise you even more because it's often recommended specifically to protect the back, yet it can quietly do the opposite if you're over 60. The next exercise sounds innocent, even helpful. Many people are told to do it every day to strengthen the core and protect the spine. But after 60, this movement is one of the most common triggers for chronic back pain, sit-ups and traditional crunches. Here's why this matters so much as we age. The spine is not a solid pole. It's a stack of small bones separated by discs that act like shock absorbers. Over time, these discs lose hydration and height. They become less flexible and more prone to bulging or herniation. Sit-ups and crunches repeatedly flex the spine forward under load. That forward bending motion increases pressure inside the discs, especially in the lower back. When you're younger, the discs tolerate this stress. After 60, they often don't. This is why so many older adults develop persistent lower back pain after doing core workouts they believe are helping them. The pain may start as stiffness, then turn into aching, and eventually radiate into the hips or legs. Another overlooked issue is neck strain. Many people unconsciously pull their head forward during crunches, placing stress on the cervical spine. Degenerative changes in the neck are extremely common after 60, and repeated strain can worsen headaches, dizziness, or nerve compression. And here's the irony. Despite all this effort, sit-ups and crunches are not even the most effective way to strengthen the core at any age. The core's primary job is not to bend the spine, it's to stabilize it. That's why exercises like gentle planks on an elevated surface, standing, core bracing, bird dog movements, and slow controlled marches train the muscles to protect the spine without grinding it down. These movements improve balance, posture, and functional strength, things that actually prevent falls and injuries. Now let's move to the fourth exercise, and this one is particularly dangerous because it combines high-impact, fast movement and balance challenges, three things that naturally decline with age. Jumping exercises, jump squats, box jumps, jumping lunges, even repeated jumping jacks. These movements are often praised for improving bone density and cardiovascular fitness. And yes, impact can stimulate bone strength, but only when the body can safely absorb it. After 60, reaction time slows, muscle elasticity decreases, and balance systems are less forgiving. When you land from a jump, your joints and connective tissue must absorb sudden force. If that force is not perfectly controlled, it transfers to the knees, hips, ankles, and spine. Falls are one of the leading causes of serious injury and loss of independence in older adults, and jumping exercises dramatically increase fall risk, even for people who consider themselves fit. Another hidden issue is blood pressure spikes. Explosive movements cause sudden surges in blood pressure. For someone with undiagnosed hypertension or vascular stiffness, this can increase the risk of cardiovascular events. There's also the matter of recovery. High-impact movements create microtrauma in muscles and joints. Younger bodies repair this quickly. Older bodies take longer. Repeated stress without full recovery leads to inflammation, pain, and injury accumulation. And again, the biggest problem is not that these exercises exist. It's that they're unnecessary. You can improve bone density, leg strength, and cardiovascular health without leaving the ground. Step-ups, brisk walking, resistance training, and balance-focused movements provide the stimulus the body needs without the danger. Consistency beats intensity, especially after 60. Now we come to the fifth exercise. This one is often performed slowly and quietly. It doesn't look aggressive. In fact, many people do it believing it's gentle and safe. But for aging shoulders and spines, it can be one of the fastest ways to create long-term damage. Overhead presses with heavy weight. The shoulder is the most mobile joint in the body and the least stable. Over time, the rotator cuff tendons naturally weaken and lose blood supply. This makes them more vulnerable to tears and inflammation. When you press heavy weight overhead, especially with limited shoulder mobility or poor posture, you compress these tendons under the shoulder bones. Repeated compression leads to impingement, tendonitis, and eventually rotator cuff tears. And once shoulder injuries occur after 60, recovery is slow and often incomplete. Many people lose range of motion permanently. Some require surgery, Others simply stop using their arms fully, which accelerates muscle loss and functional decline. Heavy overhead pressing also places stress on the neck and upper spine. If there's any existing disc degeneration or arthritis, which is very common, this can worsen pain and nerve symptoms. This doesn't mean shoulder strength is unimportant. In fact, strong shoulders are essential for daily life, reaching, lifting, carrying, and protecting against falls, but safer alternatives exist. Lateral raises with light weights, front raises, resistance band presses at chest height, and wall-assisted movements strengthen the shoulders without forcing them into vulnerable positions. Strength training should support life, not limit it. Now here's the most important part of this entire discussion. It's not about stopping exercise, it's about choosing movements that respect the aging body while still challenging it. When seniors remove these 5 high-risk exercises and replace them with smarter options, studies show improvements in pain levels, mobility, cardiovascular health, and overall quality of life. People move more often because they hurt less, and that increased daily movement is one of the strongest predictors of longevity. In the next part, I'll explain what actually happens inside your body when you make this shift and why so many people feel younger, stronger, and more confident within just a few weeks. Something remarkable happens when people over 60 stop punishing their bodies and start working with them instead. It's not just that the pain fades or the stiffness eases. There's a deeper shift that takes place, one that affects energy, balance, confidence, and even how long the body stays independent. Here's why. As we age, the nervous system becomes more sensitive to stress signals. High-impact, high-strain exercises constantly tell the brain, this is dangerous. In response, muscles tighten, coordination decreases, and recovery slows. This is one reason older adults often feel sore for days after workouts that once felt normal. When you remove exercises that overload joints, spike blood pressure, or compress the spine, the nervous system relaxes. Movement becomes smoother. Muscles fire more efficiently. Balance improves, not because you practice balance alone, but because your brain feels safer letting the body move freely. This is a key concept in longevity science. The body adapts best in an environment of safety, not fear. Another critical factor is inflammation. Chronic low-grade inflammation increases naturally with age. It's linked to arthritis, heart disease, diabetes, cognitive decline, and even accelerated aging at the cellular level. Aggressive or poorly chosen exercise adds fuel to that fire by creating constant micro-injuries the body can't fully repair. When seniors switch to lower impact, controlled movements, inflammatory markers often decrease. Joints swell less, muscles recover faster, sleep improves, and better sleep alone is associated with longer lifespan and reduced risk of chronic disease. Now let's talk about muscle, because muscle is one of the strongest predictors of survival after 60. Loss of muscle mass, known as sarcopenia, is strongly associated with falls, fractures, hospitalization, and early mortality, but building muscle doesn't require extreme workouts. In fact, extreme workouts often sabotage muscle growth in older adults because recovery capacity is limited. Muscle responds to consistent, moderate resistance applied through a safe range of motion. When exercises are too intense or too risky, people skip workouts due to pain or fear. Consistency breaks. Muscle slowly disappears. This is why people who choose safer exercises often end up stronger in the long run. They train more frequently. They recover better. They keep moving year after year. There's also the issue of hormones. High-intensity, high-stress exercise can spike cortisol, the body's stress hormone. While cortisol is useful in short bursts, chronic elevation is linked to muscle breakdown, fat accumulation around the abdomen, weakened immunity, and impaired memory. Gentler but challenging movement keeps cortisol in balance while still stimulating growth hormone and insulin sensitivity. This hormonal environment supports fat loss, muscle preservation, and brain health, 3 pillars of healthy aging. Now let's address a belief that needs to be unlearned. Many people think, if it doesn't hurt, it's not working. After 60, this mindset becomes dangerous. Pain is not progress, pain is information, and the body becomes much more honest with its signals as it ages. Ignoring those signals doesn't build toughness, it builds damage. The goal shifts from chasing intensity to building resilience. Resilience means joints that move smoothly, muscles that respond quickly, balance that corrects itself without panic, endurance that lasts through daily life, not just a workout. This is where functional movement shines. Exercises that mimic real-life actions, standing up, stepping, reaching, carrying, train the body for what actually matters. These movements strengthen the exact muscle chains used to prevent falls, protect the spine, and maintain independence. And here's an often overlooked truth. Fear of falling shortens lives. When older adults feel unstable or unsafe, they move less, they stay home more. They avoid activity. That reduction in movement accelerates physical decline and social isolation, both linked to higher mortality risk. Choosing safe, Confidence building exercise reverses this cycle. People walk more, socialize more, engage with life again, and that engagement is deeply tied to longevity. So when you stop long distance running on hard surfaces, heavy deep squats, sit-ups and crunches, jumping exercises, and heavy overhead presses, you're not giving up fitness. You're upgrading it. You're choosing movement that supports the heart without stressing it, strengthens muscles without grinding joints, challenges balance without risking falls. And perhaps most importantly, you're choosing exercises you can still be doing at 70, 80, and beyond. In the next part, I'll walk you through what you should focus on instead and how just a few simple changes can dramatically reduce injury risk while extending your active years. At this point, the big question becomes simple. If those exercises should be stopped, what should replace them? What kind of movement actually helps the body live longer, stay independent, and feel strong after 60? The answer isn't complicated, and that's the good news. The most powerful exercise plan for older adults follows three principles: low joint stress, full body engagement, and consistency. Let's start with how the body really wants to move as it ages. Walking remains one of the most effective longevity tools ever studied. Not slow shuffling, but purposeful walking at a pace where breathing is deeper but still controlled. Walking improves heart health, blood sugar regulation, brain function, and mood. It also strengthens bones without the damaging impact of running. Adding gentle incline, varied terrain, or short bursts of slightly faster pace keeps the cardiovascular system challenged without overwhelming it. Next is strength training, but redefined. Strength after 60 is about control, not max weight. It's about being able to stand up from the floor, carry groceries, climb stairs, and catch yourself if you stumble. Exercises like sit-to-stand movements, step backs, wall push-ups, resistance band rows, and light dumbbell carries build real-world strength. They train multiple muscles together, improve coordination, and protect joints. One of the most important benefits of this type of strength training is bone health. Bones respond to load, but they don't require impact. Steady resistance signals bones to maintain density, reducing fracture risk without falls. Balance training deserves special attention. Balance is not just standing on one foot. It's the ability to recover when balance is challenged. Gentle single leg stands near a support, heel to toe walking, slow controlled step overs, and even simple weight shifts retrain the nervous system. Just a few minutes of balance work per day has been shown to significantly reduce fall risk, one of the strongest predictors of long-term health outcomes in seniors. Flexibility also changes with age. Stretching should feel relieving, not aggressive. Long, gentle stretches held while breathing calmly help maintain range of motion and reduce muscle tension. Sudden or forced stretching can strain aging connective tissue, so slow and mindful is the key. Now let's talk about the heart again, because this is where many people get confused. You do not need to exhaust yourself to protect your heart. Moderate, regular movement improves blood vessel flexibility, lowers blood pressure, improves cholesterol balance, and reduces inflammation. In fact, excessive intensity can sometimes counteract these benefits in older adults. Think of exercise like medicine. The right dose heals. Too much can harm. Another overlooked factor is recovery. After 60, recovery is part of the workout. Rest days, good sleep, hydration, and nutrition are not optional, they're essential. Muscles grow and joints repair during rest, not during effort. People who respect recovery often train more over the course of a year than those who push too hard and get injured. And here's something deeply important. Exercise should give you confidence, not anxiety. If you constantly worry about pain, falling, or overdoing it, your body stays tense. That tension increases injury risk. When movement feels safe and enjoyable, your body relaxes and adapts better. This is why many seniors report feeling mentally younger when they change their exercise approach. Movement becomes something they look forward to, not something they endure. Now, let's bring this all together. Stopping those 5 risky exercises isn't about limitation. It's about longevity. It's about choosing movements that keep you active not just for the next month, but for the next decades. In the final part, I'll connect all of this to lifespan and independence, and explain why the smallest changes often create the biggest results over time. Here's the truth that doesn't get said enough. Most people don't lose their independence because of age. They lose it because of injuries, fear, and the slow accumulation of damage that could have been avoided. After 60, lifespan and health span begin to separate. Some people live longer but weaker, more limited, and more dependent. Others stay active, sharp, and capable well into their later decades. The difference often comes down to how they move every single week. Those 5 exercises we talked about don't shorten life overnight. They do it quietly. Through joint degeneration that limits movement, through injuries that reduce confidence, through chronic pain that leads to inactivity. And inactivity is one of the strongest predictors of early decline. When movement stops, circulation slows, muscles shrink, balance fades, blood sugar rises. The brain receives fewer growth signals. Social engagement decreases. Each small change feeds the next. But the reverse is also true, and this is the hopeful part. When seniors choose safer, smarter exercise, a positive chain reaction begins. Movement becomes consistent. Consistency preserves muscle. Muscle protects joints. Stable joints improve confidence. Confidence increases daily activity. Daily activity supports the heart, brain, and immune system. This is how exercise extends life, not by pushing limits, but by removing barriers. Think about the oldest, healthiest people you've seen. They're rarely doing extreme workouts. They're walking, lifting moderately, staying balanced, and moving almost every day. Their bodies trust movement instead of fearing it. That trust matters. Falls are one of the leading causes of life-altering events after 60, so are fractures, surgeries, and long recovery periods. Avoiding high-risk exercises dramatically lowers these risks, not by making you weaker, but by keeping you moving longer. And there's another piece many people overlook. The brain loves predictable, safe movement. It releases chemicals that improve mood, memory, and motivation. This is why regular, manageable exercise is linked to lower rates of depression and cognitive decline. When workouts feel achievable, people stick with them, and the brain thrives on that routine. Longevity isn't built in a single workout. It's built in thousands of small decisions that protect the body instead of challenging it recklessly. So if you're over 60, remember this. You don't need to run harder. You don't need to lift heavier. You don't need to push through pain. You need to move wisely. Stop the exercises that wear you down. Choose the ones that build you up. And focus on what lets you keep moving year after year. That's how strength becomes freedom. That's how fitness becomes longevity. If there's one message to take away from everything you've just heard, it's this: aging does not mean giving up movement, but it does mean upgrading how you move. After 60, your body becomes incredibly honest. It tells you very clearly what supports health and what slowly takes it away. The 5 exercises we talked about today don't fail because you're weak. They fail because they ignore how the body changes with time. And when the body is ignored, it pays the price quietly at first, then loudly. But the opposite is also true. When you choose smarter movement, low impact, controlled, consistent, you create a powerful chain reaction. Joints stay mobile, muscles stay active, balance stays sharp, confidence returns. And instead of shrinking your world, your body allows you to keep living inside it fully. Longevity is not built in extreme moments. It's built in daily choices, the walk you actually enjoy, the strength exercise you can repeat week after week, the balance work that keeps you steady when life throws you off center. This is how independence is preserved. This is how injuries are avoided. This is how lifespan is protected, not just in years, but in quality. So if you're over 60, don't ask, how hard can I push? Ask instead, how long can I keep going? Because the goal isn't to be the strongest person in the room today. The goal is to still be moving freely, confidently, and pain-free years from now. And when exercise works with your body instead of against it, that goal becomes completely achievable.